Hello and welcome back to the 10th Pint Podcast. We're here with me, Lucas Normal, and Beefham.
Yes, lad.
And today we have a very special guest, one of the Redmen from Redmen TV, Chris Pajak. Oh, butchered that there.
He just told you before we
I know,
started.
yeah.
3
times.
I know.
Pajak.
Nearly said Dimitri Payet. But yeah, we'll get started off with just explain a little bit about yourself, what you do at Redmen.
Yeah,
For
so
people that don't know.
Redmen's obviously a Liverpool fan channel, I suppose. We were the first fan channel ever in the world. And me and Paul started it, and we've been hosting it and running the business ever since, really. But I say business, it wasn't really a business to start with. It was just two mates having a chat about the footy.
Yeah.
And it grew into something where we've now got like 11 members of staff and stuff like that. So yeah, it's grown well bigger than we ever thought it would do, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Fair play. What year did you start it then?
2010.
Was that like the start of the season under Hodgson?
It was the World Cup in 2010.
Oh, the World
believe it
Cup,
or
yeah.
not. Yeah, we started fucking around with just like YouTube videos because Paul's always been into like media and stuff like that. I was a restaurant manager, to be honest with you, and before that a chef and stuff. And I had like no interest other than Paul was my best mate, and we used to fuck around making stupid videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we started making videos during the World Cup, and then we started doing it when Hodgson was in charge and all that type of stuff. But before then, Benitez was still in charge, wasn't he? And that, so it was mad, to be honest with you, because we never really thought anything would come of it. We were just making videos for us, really, for a bit of a laugh and just chatting about the footy, and then it just grew into something bigger than we ever expected, really.
Yeah, so to start off with, like in that first season, what sort of views were you getting then?
Fucking nothing. I'm all right swearing, Annie.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely nothing. Like, so I remember in 2011, we had this bright idea of like, well, we'll try and make a little bit of money off this on the side because we're putting loads of hours in and all that type of stuff. So I got a loan out and we got a website built, but we wanted it to be a subscription website where people could pay for the extra videos. It was a bit of a comedy sketch show style thing, Redmen, to begin with. It wasn't like anything like what a fan channel is now, to be honest. And then we did that on 5,000 subscribers, I think it was. I got a loan out. We built a website. I ripped the terms and conditions from Love Film because Netflix wasn't even out in the UK until like 2012.
Yeah.
So this was before like anyone who was subscribing to something on the internet, it was just porn back then. It wasn't like anything else, honest to God. Like it just wasn't. I ripped our terms and conditions from Love Film, and it was like a 30-page document. Remember Love Film?
Nah.
Can't say it's you.
Yeah.
Right. They used to deliver DVDs. So it was like Blockbuster, but kind of not like Netflix in that they'd post your DVDs and you'd post them back when you'd watch them. Right. And that's where we...
Wait, are these, like, because it's called Love Film, are these porn DVDs?
No. They're literally like Blockbuster. I'm sure you could get a Bluey on there, but I don't think I did or anyone I knew did. So like back then there was no Patreon, there was no subscription websites, there was nothing. So we went to a few people and we were like, can you build us one? And we were like, no, we don't know how to do it. Like, they're like, okay, Sam. And we found this company out in Warrington, and we went to them and they were like, I think we can do it, Sam. So we put all of our money in it, and then like 50 people signed up paying £2 a month, and I was just there going, I've taken a loan out for this shit. This is not going to work at all.
That's a big risk, isn't it?
It was
for like
huge,
early on.
Yeah. And like, the worst was like I went to my wife and was like, right, we're gonna do this, I'm gonna take a loan out, and she's like, okay, like, really, Chris, is it really gonna work? And I was like, probably not, but she let us get away with it anyway. And so yeah, we started, and then it was a slow burn, and it probably wasn't until like the other fan channels started turning up, like Arsenal Fan TV launched like 2 years after us, and they got massive almost straight away. And then you got like sort of Mark Goldbridge who started to do stuff, and then other lads started to do stuff, Toffee TV, obviously, good mates of ours. And then you started to sort of collaborate with them, and you were like, fucking hell, this is pretty cool, actually, like fan content and, you know, people just making stuff, because then you couldn't really do it on phones. Like camera phones weren't good enough. Now you can literally run a YouTube channel from a mobile phone, can't you? You can stream it live if you want to. You can record all your footage. But back then we were like borrowing our mate's camera. And he was a bit of a director, and still is a director to this day. And we'd have to wait for him, but he's notoriously bad for time keeping. So we'd sit there for 3 hours and wait for him to turn up with a camera, and then he'd turn up and be like, fucking hell, mate. Come on, what's going on here? Like, you've been dead late. And that was the type of shit that we used to do. And we used to record on a Monday night when I finished work from about 7 o'clock, sometimes till about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then Paul had there to sit for 3 days, and he was working part-time to sort of do it. Now it's completely different, like, you know what I mean? But it is mad to think how much it's changed over the years.
Did you notice a boom in a certain season? Because I can sort of remember 13, 14. I can remember that was when, like, myself, I started to pick it up on, like, Arsenal fan TV, watching, like, Claude and Ty go at it.
Do you think in a way, do you know, like KSI and people like that, he was an Arsenal fan, he used to do FIFA videos. Do you think that in a way has just grown together? Like the actual serious football content and then the FIFA messing around videos. Because I can remember at that time, 13, 14, that's when he was starting to get big type thing.
Like, was that a season which you noticed, like, a growth?
Yeah. I think when Liverpool started to do well, we noticed it. And that for us has always been a big thing, to be honest with you. Because, like, listen, I know Robbie's a mate of mine and respect him a lot. And I know how much graft he puts in. But we always wanted to not go down that, like, other fans watch us route.
Yeah.
Because we've lost. And so what we always wanted was our views to go up when Liverpool won and our views to go down when Liverpool lost. And if we can continue to sort of do that, I think we're on the right track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of don't want to be a laughing stock. And Liverpool's a funny city in that regard as well. I think us Scousers are a bit like, you don't want anyone to make Liverpool look bad.
Yeah.
And so we're very conscious of, like, we get a few people back when we used to do fan cams and they come on and you know they were just trying to be Arsenal fan TV. And it was like,
it's not offensive, is
and
it?
we're not going to put it out.
Yeah.
We just won't fucking do it.
No, it's just what
Now, it might have got
strategy put them out,
views, and it might have done really well in terms of views, but we're like, that's not what we want. Now, some people will say you're censoring it, but fuck 'em, it's our channel.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, we don't, it's not that we're censoring your views, it's just that we know why you're on. You're on to try and get famous off the back of our name, and you're only saying those because you think that you'll get famous off the back of it because people have done. And we didn't really want that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say with Arsenal fan TV, I'd say at times Robbie's probably been a bit too generous because he sort of lets anyone on, doesn't he, to say their piece, and then the odd time, as you've just said there, you get people coming on trying to sort of...
It's like acting,
Yeah.
isn't it? In a way.
I think that's it. And for the most part, I think, I would say certainly in the early days, there was never any Scousers coming up to us anyway. Like, you know, the match going lads probably didn't like it to begin with because they didn't trust us and all that type of stuff. And there's probably still, to be fair, there's probably still an element of that like they think we're going to make them look stupid and all that type of stuff. But we've been around long enough now where I think, you know, they're not, when everyone realises is we are just saying our own views. You might disagree with them, you might agree with them, but we're not trying to make anyone look stupid.
Have you ever had any backlash at the match from anyone or anything like that?
Yeah, I think so. Like, probably 5 or 6 years ago, some lad took a particular dislike to us and he came up to us, to be fair to him. Most people just abuse you online and wouldn't come up to you.
Yeah.
Like, and I've seen people who've abused me online and I've gone straight up to them, like, and said something in, like, because I can't let it lie, you know what I mean? I think they've been out of order. So I've gone up to them and like, what the fuck were you calling me out there for and all that type of stuff. And they just shut up. But this other, fair play to this lad, I don't know his name, so I can't say it, but he came up to us and he was like, and he had given me shit online, but at least he gave me it in person as well. I kind of respected that more. Like, I mean, we never agreed. I didn't agree with him. He didn't change my mind and whatnot. But at least he backed his opinion up, put himself out there and said it. And I was like, you know what, fair play. I can understand that you don't like us. You can't please everyone all of the time, can you?
Yeah, true.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That was probably the only time, really, apart from Chelsea fans who absolutely despise me for a certain video that I did a few years ago. Like, and rightfully so, I can say as well.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it, though? It's like, it is opinion-based, isn't it? Everyone has an opinion. And fan channels are going to be opinion-based. And there's going to be people in your own supporter base that don't agree with you. I think that's something online now that you see on Twitter. You're either one side or the other. You can't, like, be all right with someone, like the content, but disagree with something. It's like it's almost you've got to be one side or the other.
Yeah, it's black and white, isn't
it?
Like,
you can't just disagree with something someone says but still think, yeah, they're all right.
I think the issue with Twitter a lot is, though, if you disagree with someone's point, there's always got to be your dickhead on the end of it or something like that, hasn't there?
The tone as well. You can't hear the tone of saying it. Like,
that's important, isn't it? When you're trying to get like, when you're trying to talk to somebody in real life, they can see your mannerisms, they can see whether you're bullshitting them or whatever. But on Twitter, it's just very much black and white. And like, we have it now, actually, to be fair, at the moment, with all the FSG out stuff, like there's so many Liverpool fans just think we are paid by FSG. And it's like, this is fucking stupid. Like, it's ridiculous. And it's slanderous at times, like, you know what I mean? Saying, like, we're taking money because we get all these big interviews and stuff. We haven't had anything off the club for years. I interviewed Jurgen Klopp in Boston a few years ago, And I think Paul might have interviewed him about 2 or 3 years ago. We've had nothing from the football club.
Yeah.
Like, how we normally get our interviews is through brands who are looking to try and promote something. So we'll go to the brand and be like, can we have a few minutes with them? And they do it because the brand are getting exposure. The club don't give us anything, really. Like, we've got a good working relationship with them. They know where we are. We can email them and all that. And they're never like knobheads with us or anything like that. But it's never they don't come to us and say, yeah, you've got to say something nice about FSG. It's like, if we think FSG are knobheads, we'll say it. If we think there's a problem at the club, we'll say it. If we think there's a problem with the player, we'll say it. Quite often, if we don't say it, it's because we don't think it. But then people accuse you of like biasness and being in FSG's pockets. Like, on one hand, you've got lads there who go, hang on a minute, Chris, you haven't said anything about FSG, and FSG don't even know we're 9th in the table and all this type of stuff. But then they're accusing FSG of paying us. Well, if FSG don't know we're 9th in the fucking table, did he give a shit what two fucking Scousers are saying on a couch up in Hunts Cross? Like, really? Like, they don't even know the club that they own is 9th in the table, and you're telling me they pay us to say nice things about them? Come on.
Just from outside, what sort of is your opinion on FSG then?
So I think they've done loads of good stuff at Liverpool. I think they've made some horrific mistakes. Like I don't. If I was talking to a Liverpool fan now, they'd know FSG's mistakes.
Yeah.
I think you probably do as well. Like the £77 tickets, trying to trademark the word Liverpool, the furlough scheme. There's others as well, like big ones. I don't think they've invested anywhere near enough in the football team. But equally, they've taken us from where we were under Roy Hodgson to winning every trophy that's available. So everyone wants their club to spend more money. And I do probably think that FSG have taken Liverpool as far as they can in terms of the league's changed, FFP hasn't worked, and therefore you probably need more money than FSG are willing to put in. But as a football club, they ran pretty well. It's just maybe not as well as you want.
I think that's because of other clubs like Chelsea and City to a lesser extent really now, that spend that money just like it's going out of fashion. Whereas Liverpool seems a lot more sustainable in a way where, like players, I think like Minamino, do you make a profit on him?
Yeah, I think
like
so,
that's something that we don't do at Everton.
Yeah.
When we buy a player, it's like driving a car out the showroom with Everton. When we buy club players, straight away, we never make money back. Like usually make like 8 millions, 10 millions here and there. We just don't do that. So I think like sustainability wise, it's good, but you don't want to look at it as a business. You want to look as a fan, don't you?
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? With FFP, the idea was you've got to spend what you make. It's a simple idea. Liverpool are the best at that.
Yeah,
absolutely, and it probably in the country, maybe even in the world. And in terms of staying at the top for a few years, probably didn't win as many league titles as we maybe should have, but it is what it is. You're facing financial doping, so that's difficult and whatever. But to stay at the top, you need big money, I think, with Manchester City and Chelsea and all those PSGs and Real Madrid spending loads of dough. And FSG don't have that. If FFP was in place properly, Liverpool would be bang up there all the time. But they need more money to compete, and they don't have it. And they're not willing to break the rules by the sounds of it.
Did he do that with, is it the Red Sox, is it, as well? Boston?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. And obviously, they won a big title after 60 or 70 years, didn't they, with the Red Sox? So they proved that they can do that. Ultimately, FSG are businessmen, and they've bought a business they do want to make money on. They're going to make money somewhere along the ways. They're going to sell it for £4 billion probably.
Yeah.
And they're going to make 3.7 billion on their investment, which is a great return. And they get the kudos of that.
Yeah.
The problem is football isn't set up for business, is it? It's not like American footy, as an example. It's made so the owners of those teams make money.
Yeah.
The league shares the money out between the teams, and there's the closed shop, and that's what they like. That's why FSG probably wanted to go to the Super League, because it was a closed shop that they get loads and loads of dough in every single year. But football clubs have just vacuous holes for fucking giant pits of money that you just spend and spend and spend. They don't make money, do they? Why would a businessman want a football club? It's a stupid investment. Unless you can make 3.5 billion on growing it from 270 million to £4 billion. That's the only way they can make money. But at a point, they're going to go, can't make no more money out of this, and we'll probably move on. And that's the right decision if they are businessmen looking to sell.
I think that's Mashiri, though. I think that's his idea. He's going to build that ground, sell it for more than what he bought it for.
Is he in charge?
There's the Everton Twitter
it's like
conspiracies,
I think a lot
there,
of the
but
manager interviews Usmanov was there, and then obviously with all the stuff with Russia, he's out the picture, stuff like that. Like I don't think no one has a clue what's going on.
Do you know, like USM? Finch Farm was the sponsor. I don't know if it still is,
No,
but
it's not no more because of the Russia.
I'm sure he owns
Yeah.
or that. Or there was something weird where he was involved in some capacity, but
It's
he was
like,
involved with Arsenal as well, wasn't he? Or
yeah, I think the sponsorship for the training grounds, I've never heard of anyone getting £75 million for 5 years for the sponsorship for the training ground. And that was US.
Yeah, true, but it's just whether that's a different way of putting money through something, isn't it? Like,
A City.
yeah, but we are
They
just
do,
badly run though
Yeah.
as a football club.
Oh,
on the pitch, off
the
the
worst
pitch.
ran football side in the league. by a mile.
Scary.
I don't understand how you do it. To be honest with you, like, no, genuinely,
yeah.
because there's a point where you've got the manager and you've appointed some brilliant managers, like Ancelotti, fucking best manager you've probably ever had in terms of
Yeah.
what he's won.
Yeah,
It's a one-off,
Can
isn't
do
it, though?
Yeah, true. But like, it was like you'd always always from the outside, so it was like flip flop from like Moyes to Roberto Martinez, two completely different styles. And I get you'd have to do that at times, but then even like Allardyce to, I don't even know who was after Allardyce now.
What, a Koeman?
Silver.
Silver it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're
Silver.
hardly the same manager. But and then you just flip flop from one side to the other over and over, and you're like, well, hang on a minute. And then it's all of a sudden well, is it the players that are bad? No, it's the manager that's bad. So we'll sack the manager again. We'll change the players. Blah blah blah. No. It's the top of the fucking club that are bad.
Yeah.
And if the top of the club and the board and Kenwright are all fucked, it doesn't matter what goes on below it because it just filters down, doesn't it?
No, I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, to be honest. Like this season, I don't want to get too negative, but I'm very fearful in terms of going down, especially after that performance on Monday from the players, like, because that was just, I can take getting beat, but give it a go, like, do you know what I mean?
Give up.
Yeah.
You look on 65 minutes. It's like walking around like it was a training game. It's the derby. At least look like you're arsed. Do you know what I mean?
If I'd have gone into that blind and not seen the news over the last 2 weeks, I wouldn't have known you'd changed from Lampard to Dyche.
Yeah.
It looked like a Lampard side. It didn't look like a Dyche side. It didn't look like the side that turned up against Arsenal and put that performance in. And I wonder whether, if Liverpool were playing better, he'd have played that completely differently. I think he's gone in there and gone, Liverpool are playing shit. Everyone who has a go at them wins, so we'll go and have a go at them. But it didn't even do that. It was shocking by Everton, to be honest with you.
Do you know, like the last 25 minutes of that game, at any point were you worried?
No.
Yes, see, it's no good, that is it? Like, because any other team in the league, you probably would be slightly worried there. Whereas with our players, I think they just crumble with the pressure of playing
You can
Liverpool, to
see
be
the
honest.
goal and the beating.
Yeah.
Straight away. There's no one there. Like, I don't know, like even Cody players like that, they're experienced, but are they winners? No, I wouldn't say they are.
But that, like, your keeper, like, look, I'll be honest, I don't think he's a terrible keeper. I'd never, in the ground, I'd never let him know that, obviously. You're going to sing the songs and all that type of stuff. But he does go to shit when he plays us.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I don't think he's a bad keeper, though.
He's not a bad keeper, but it's like he tries to prove that he's a good keeper when he plays us, and he just needs to do the simple things. What was he doing? Playing fucking hide and seek with Cody Gakpo and Mo Salah? Like, you know what I mean? What's he looking the
I just
wrong
think
way
he didn't know
for?
what to do because there was three. I think it was Robertson, Gakpo, and Salah, weren't it?
Yeah.
All in a row. So whatever he does there, you're probably going to score anyway. But he just made it look
But he went
worse.
for the echo. He just fucked off. Like, he wasn't even facing the ball.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do
I
that?
just think it's frustrating for him, because he's playing for England in a quarter-final of a World Cup and then he's back at Everton. And for him, I think he's the next Tottenham keeper as well. I think Lloris will go and he'll end up there.
He's the same type. He'll fuck up in a big game for you, won't he?
He does it at Newcastle away.
Yeah.
He's done it a
his
few
head
times.
falls
His
off
head
there.
just goes. Like,
I think our players, though, are just so mentally weak. Like, at Anfield, I think we always go there to hope to not lose rather than try to win. Whereas with Liverpool players, go to win against Everton, don't they? I think a big part of it, like, this is going to sound like a mad thing, but like on commentary, at Leon Osman and Carragher, even their mentalities on the game, Carragher's a serial winner, whereas Osman, average player, but he's not a winner, is he? And on commentary, you could even feel from them how worried Osman was about losing rather than winning the game.
who are you getting, though, as a winner from Everton in the last 25 years?
Rooney.
He
That's
wasn't
it,
a winner at Everton, was he?
No,
Though?
well,
Like,
that's the only
that's
one,
what I
innit?
mean. You'd have to get players that were in the 80s and stuff. So, like, there's no really other option apart from an Osman, is there?
Oh, you mean for the commentary?
For the commentary, I was saying, like, we need winners, but we haven't had winners
Stick me on commentary.
until like the 80s, really. We've obviously had the FA Cup in 95, but, like,
Kanchelskis?
well, yeah, but
But not at Everton, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
one of-
actually, did he win the FA Cup at Everton?
No, it's the season after we signed him.
Oh, was it?
Good
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
Amakachi. He's 4-1. Did he score 2 in that game?
Yeah.
yeah.
In the semi-final?
It's one of the, I just think, I don't know, it's just, we just accept mediocrity, and it's not even mediocre at the moment. Under Moyes, I think, under Moyes, we had that, like, there was time periods where we were finishing 5th, we finished 4th, obviously, as well, where we could have pushed on, because the league didn't have that top 6 like it does now. We had the top 4, which was traditionally United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. And then we could have got into that time, but we just fell off. I think Moyes took us as far, I think we spoke about it, he took us as far as we could get, and he stayed for another 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, what's happened now is we're in this position where we just flip-flop, as you said, between managers.
Someone was an Everton fan. I think it was Matt Jones. You know Matt Jones from the Blue Room.
Oh, yeah.
I was chatting to him last week before the derby, and he just said something that stuck with me, to be fair. It was like, there is a period of 4 or 5 years when we were the most pointless side in the league, because we never won against the big side, and we weren't in relegation zones, so we'd never give anyone a bloody nose. No one even knew we were fucking here. Like, and that's the most depressing thing about the last few years, is that no one cared who we were, what we were doing. The atmosphere kind of waned a little bit. So I remember like 10 years ago, or when Ferguson's Man United or whatever would go to Everton, the atmosphere looked incredible. It looked fucking gnarly. It looked really difficult to go to. You'd kind of lost that as well at times, didn't you?
Yeah.
I suppose last season, like, at least people knew you were there. At least you were having a good time in that. There was something to fight for as a fan.
It's more
When you're in the
meaningful,
middle
innit?
doing nothing, what's the point?
I think I'd rather be there now than be in the
Well,
battle.
yeah, I
though,
know.
do you know what I
I'm
mean?
going to
But
have sleepless nights for like the next 3 months now, but...
But did you feel alive?
Oh, yeah. So it's
we went Leicester, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that's when we won 2-0. 2-1. Yeah, we won 2-1. That's when we thought we were staying up. And even Lampard thought we were staying up that day as well. Obviously, then we got to the Palace game, and that was just mad. But stuff like that doesn't happen to Everton normally. But this season, I don't know. We don't have that player where I think he can drag us to a victory or get a point away from home against a good side like Richarlison was for us. Calvert-Lewin, like, does he want to play? Like,
Has he played well for anyone other than Ancelotti? Was it Ancelotti?
it was in lockdown, when it was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Has he played well for any other managers?
He's had flashes, but not on a consistent basis like he did with Ancelotti. I can't believe we still haven't, like, we've known for so long about his injury, and I bang on about it so much, and the fact that we didn't get a replacement for him rather than a backup to him is just crazy.
Yeah.
Shit, sorry.
That's right. But then we bring, like, you bring in a young lad in, Ellis Sims. Yeah, but if you don't know that. Yeah, we're bringing like Ellis Sims in the derby. It's second star for Everton. And you're just hanging him out to dry. What's that doing for his confidence when you've got... Obviously, Mopé's not great, but I just think that decision, personally, was awful for that lad's confidence, first of all. Like, the ball's just bouncing off him. Like, what can you do?
You're killing his chances.
That's what I mean.
Doors, aren't you? We had a left back called Emiliano Insua. I don't know if you
I remember him.
Oh,
Yeah.
And he was sound for a few weeks, and then he got hung out to dry too long. And you're like, because I think we had injuries to like Fabio Aurelio, and definitely would have been an injury to Fabio Aurelio because he was a bit like that Calvert-Lewin and that. And he just played too much as a young kid, and you're like, you've ruined him. You've absolutely, he had the chance to be someone.
Yeah.
And because you just overplayed him as a young kid, he was never going to make it at Liverpool. And I think he went on and had half a decent career, to be honest with you. But I think he could have been a lot better had he been handled right at the early doors. But that's why, like, Bajcetic the other day for us was such a revelation for me. Because I've seen Steven Gerrard, I've seen all kinds of Liverpool legends over the years fall to pieces in derby games.
Yeah.
18-year-old kid comes in against the midfield that I thought looked brilliant for Everton against Arsenal.
Yeah.
You know, Ghana Gay, Anana, is it?
Yeah.
And Decore, big, athletic, strong footy players. I'm thinking, fucking hell, 18-year-old kid, Fabinho, who's been shit, Jordan Henderson, whose legs have looked kind of like they've fallen off over the last few months. That's their strength and our weakness. And Bajcetic made it our strength and your weakness somehow. And like, as an 18-year-old kid in a derby, you're not supposed to do that, are you?
No.
Like, you don't see that very often where they come in. And for me, he was the man of the match. Like, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Like, that's mad at 18 years old.
Classy player too. It wasn't just like, oh, he's done well. Like, he played really well. Like, he bossed the game. He influenced the game. He didn't just, he was sound, risky passes. Like, he just looked confident. That's something like all of our players never look. He just looked like he fully believed in what he could do.
He's boss, mate. He's so good. He's got like shades of loads of greats. Like, I don't want to tarnish, you know, the likes of Xabi Alonso or Gerrard by comparing them to him because he's just an 18-year-old. But the way he moves with the ball, his positioning's really good. The way he can influence a game at 18, and like he's not even an 8. He's like probably we signed him as a centre half, and then we moved him into the 6, and now he's an 8 all of a sudden. And like, what the hell? He obviously takes instruction well. Like, 'cause it's not easy to play in Liverpool's midfield. Saying that, it's probably easy to get into Liverpool's midfield now the way we've been playing. But he's been our best player since
Where'd
he
you
walked
pick
into
him
the
up from?
side. I don't even know. It was like 2 years ago.
He's from Vigo in Spain.
Celta Vigo,
Maybe Celta Vigo, yeah. I think his dad played for them. I had a look the other day because I thought, why has he got that surname? I think his dad's Serbian. But yeah, that's something with our youth players. You don't really see that many coming through now. Like Sims is 22.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not that young really, and he's only just like starting to play. Obviously, we sold Gordon, but I think we've made our thoughts clear on Gordon anyway. I don't think he was that good, but there's not many coming through it. I don't think. No. There's no Walesies anyway. There's nowhere you think, oh yeah. Even Tom Davis, when he first come through, like 2015, he looked like a boss player, but now he's another one. He just goes into his shell. He's injury prone. He's just.
I think the thing is, we don't know when to sell at the right time. Because, like with Davis, we probably could have got a decent fee for him. His contract's out in the summer now, so you won't even make it.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad management in it. We've had that as well. Like, you know, where we've hung on to players too long, haven't we? And whatnot. Like, and you let them go for buttons or free at the end of the contract. It's like, it's proper bad management, that, isn't it? That you can get to that situation because ultimately, like, if you're going to get rid of Davies, you've got to sell him. You can't let him go for free.
No.
Because he's an asset and that can be reinvested into the side. Like, but how you can let someone walk out the door now, it's all stacked in the club's favour. You should be able to get that done. And if they're not signing the contract, then you've got to get rid. It's shit, but you'd have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, not half. Anyway, going back to the Redmen. When did
I was fine talking about it, you know. I kind of enjoyed it.
I wish I was enjoying talking about Everton, but when did you go full time then with Redmen?
2014. So I had my first kids in 2014. I did my paternity leave and then I didn't go back. Basically, I'd organised it with my boss, that was fine and that. So we took the plunge, 2014. Paul went in 2013, and then we had one member of staff, maybe, might have even been part-time, to be honest with you. And we had this massive office that we sort of were trying to kit out and stuff. And then, so 8 years ago now.
Where were you based initially before, like, Hunt's Cross?
Originally, it was in Paul's dining room. No, sorry. Originally, fucking hell, Paul lived in a flat on Waverty Road with his bird, now his wife, and we did it in their living room. Then we moved and shot a pilot in another flat that they moved into because they were renting, which again was a living room. And we actually took the pilot to LFC and tried to get it on LFC TV. And they did that whole like X Factor thing where it's like, oh, we really like you, but like we only want to take one of you. And we were like, oh, okay, sounds. We'll try and do it our own, and that's what made us put it onto YouTube. So I think we actually shot the pilots in like 2009 or something, and then we put it on YouTube in 2010 and started doing it on YouTube. And then we were in the Dovedale pub for a few years in a couple of rooms over the Dovedale, and then we moved into our offices now, like our studios and stuff.
It's the same place as Toffee TV, isn't it?
Yeah. The mates of ours, we met them when we were filming in the Dovey for like I don't know what it was, like a preview show or something like that. I think they reached out to us and were like, do you want to do some videos? We did some videos with them, got mates with them and stuff. And then when we moved into our studio, it's massive, like it's big. And we had a room spare, so we were like, do you want to come in and you can do your stuff there? Because I think they were above an Everton pub somewhere maybe, and I think they were fine.
The Winslow?
Yeah, that's
Winslow.
it. That was it, yeah. I think they were there. And then, they've been with us probably since about 2014, 2015 maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think we moved in 2015 actually, yeah.
How hard is it to make that decision to go from like a steady normal job to then your own business, but then something that you're still maybe not that sure like how long it's going to last type thing? Because at that time as well, it wasn't as like now you look at like the fan channels are on the overlap. Like it's mainstream, isn't it now? Back then it wasn't. Like how did you weigh up that risk? Like
how much you hate your job?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like for me, for probably the first, I don't know exactly, but maybe the first 3 or 4 years, I was still earning well less than I was in my job that I left. But it's not about that. You know what I mean? It was never about like, oh, we could go and we could make loads of money doing all this type of stuff. It was like, Do we enjoy doing it? Yeah. Is it better than working in a restaurant? Fucking right, it's better than working in a restaurant. Are you with your best mate? Yeah. Are we having a laugh all day? Yeah. Does it matter how much money I'm earning then? No. You know what I mean? And it's one of them, like, where you hope that it goes well. Don't get me wrong. You want it to go well. You want it to succeed. But ultimately, you can always fall back on it. I can still go and get a restaurant job if I want.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of them, innit? Like, if it doesn't work, at least I shot my shot.
Yeah.
know
What
what I
restaurant
mean?
were you working at?
During the Tavern Co on Smithdown.
I've always seen people get a breakfast there
There, yeah.
in the morning. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen,
so there was a few. So like going back, I started in restaurants when I was like 15. So like Owen's restaurant, the Britannia on Riverside Drive.
Yeah.
Managed there for a bit, the pub there. I'd worked in Subways and supermarkets and all kinds of stuff like. Then I got a job in the tavern in town. After 3 weeks, he asked me to be the manager of the Smithdown one, and then I became the area manager because he had one in town and one in Altrincham as well.
Yeah.
But I was still running the Smithdown one, so I was there for about 7 or 8 years. And to be fair, like it was a good restaurant job, and the boss looked after me and all that type of stuff. But it's ultimately not what you want to do.
Yeah.
No one goes into. You might go into catering to do it as a career,
Yeah.
but your aspirations are of maybe being in a Michelin-starred restaurant or something like that. No one wants to go into a place serving 500 people breakfasts every day as a life choice. Like, it's just the fact of the matter, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, like, if it didn't work, I'd just go back to doing restaurants or doing a normal job. But thankfully, it has.
I think that's a
kinda
good
worked.
way to look at it though, because people just don't. I don't know. Like the easy option there was to just like do your job, wouldn't it, and then just maybe do that part-time ones. But then obviously by investing the time as well that you would have had then, that's obviously like come to fruition now. Right, but a lot of things that's something that we like think how we like it's risk, innit?
Yeah.
It's hard to do. Like it's fair play to you, but like so when did it start? When have you ever seen it like a point where it's really grown like significantly?
I think 13-14, like you were saying before, was probably a season where Liverpool were really good, and that helps. Obviously, then people want to dwell on the wins and talk about them and stuff like that. Now, I was sort of liking it too. Do you remember when Walking Dead was out, the TV programme, and then all of a sudden there was a programme called Talking Dead that was on afterwards, and you'd have Big Brother and then there'd be another Big Brother show where people talk about it, and it was kind of like, there's a market for people talking about this after it happens. So can we be like we try to make live a thing? Can we get live? Can we be there when people are talking about it and maybe more people will see it? And it was sort of that, like, so we started doing watch-alongs well earlier than anyone else started doing watch-alongs, and we got hammered by Southampton like 6-1 on the last day of the season. We went, fuck this, not doing watch-alongs ever again. And then everyone started doing watch-alongs and they're all dead successful with it. I'm like, fucking hell, we have to do watch-alongs now. They clearly work, so we end up doing freaking watch-alongs again and stuff, which was bosh for like, when we won the league, and obviously it was COVID and stuff, so I'd much preferred to have been in there. But also, there was like near 60,000 people watching us watch Liverpool win the league. So it was a memory. All right, we couldn't be there, but that was pretty excellent. Like, you know what I mean? Where like that many people are there and celebrating with you and all that type of stuff. Like, so it was, so I think 13-14 was probably the catalyst for it. And we started doing like fan cams and then we sacked them off, and we've played around with formats over the years and stuff. But ultimately, like, we just want to have fun. Like, if we don't like doing something, we'll just fuck it off. Yeah. Like, it might get loads of views, but it's like, but it's boring. So sack it off. It's our job. Yeah. And we get to employ who we want. So why not have fun with it, like?
Yeah, that is right. So you mentioned before you interviewed Jurgen Klopp. Who's like the best person you've interviewed?
Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen Klopp, yeah.
Via country.
I thought that'd be the answer, to be fair.
He's just like, for me, like, I know Everton fans despise everything that he says. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Like, you know what I mean? You're not supposed to listen to the Liverpool manager and think he's talking the truth because he's the enemy. Like, I get that. But for me, like Liverpool fans, much like yourselves, we want to deify our managers. We want them to be like gods. We want them to get who we are, as a city and everything else, and speak on our behalf and speak to us and for us at times. And he just does that really well for me as a person. I'm sure he does that for loads of other Liverpool fans. So getting to sit down with him was just like, and it was like we were in Boston. And we found out, we knew we were going to get him because we'd spoken to the club and they'd promised that if we're over there, they'll carve out some time. So we spent a shit ton of money on flights. There was 3 of us that went over there, hotels. We were over in America for a week. And then it was like, right, the only thing that can't happen is we fly to New York, I think it was, after Boston, a day earlier than them. We're fucked if it's on that day when we're in New York and they're in Boston. Thankfully, that never happened. I was hungover to sin one morning because we'd been out with loads of Liverpool fans the night before. I think we'd been doing like a live show or something, or we were involved in a pub night. I think we were doing a pub crawl or something. So we got absolutely mullered. And then at like 9:30 in the morning, they rang Paul and were like, yeah, you can Klopp in an hour. And we looked at where it was and we were like 45 minutes away in an Uber. I was like, oh my God, this is horrendous. Like, so just jumped the quickest shower you've ever seen. And I'd sort of planned an hour interview on the plane over to America. And I'm there just scribbling out questions. I've only got, we've got 20 minutes with him, not an hour. I'm like, fuck. What am I going to ask him? And he turns up and he's like, oh, hello. And like all that. And I said to him, I was like, I want to ask you questions you've never been asked before. And he sort of went, let's see about that type of thing. But then at the end, he was like, oh yeah, no, fair play. You actually did ask me stuff that no one really has spoken to me about. So that was just unbelievable.
What did you ask him that no one spoke about?
I'm quite interested in the tactical side of the game and coaching and all that type of stuff. So it was more like that. I don't like transfers. I hate talking about transfers. I think it's really fucking boring. Like, so most of the time, especially in the summer, I imagine that everybody is speaking to him about transfers, you're going to sign and all that type of stuff. And I was sort of asking him, well, look, you've had a great season there. You've won the European Cup. How do you improve on that season? And you know, tactically, what are you going to do to change it and all that? Just that type of stuff, like footy questions.
Yeah. It's
you know,
probably good for him to refresh, isn't it?
all the time, don't you? It's like, who's injured? What do you think? And it's just like, oh, it's so boring. Like, just ask the real question.
Apart from Klopp, then, that's the obvious answer. Who else would you say? Who's like stood out? Who did like somebody you've interviewed or spoke to where you maybe weren't expecting as good an interview, or just them as a person?
Lucas Leiva would probably be the next one. Like, so we got in touch with Lucas just after he left Liverpool, and he said, yeah, sound, do you want to come over to my house in Rome? And we were like, fucking right, we do, mate. Absolutely. Like, so 3 of us set off to Rome to interview Lucas, and he lived in this mad, like, gated community, but it was absolutely massive. And he didn't really live in Rome. It was an hour away in an Uber. Yeah. So we got to this gated community and we couldn't get in. And we were like, because it's like shutters and all kinds of stuff. And we were like, Lucas, we can't get in. And he's like, well, you know, I'll speak to the security guard. So he let us in. And then it took us like another 40 minutes of driving inside this gated community. Absolutely massive. The houses were just unbelievable. And we get to his house and it's boss. He's got a footy pitch in the back garden and a basketball pitch and all that type of stuff. And we did the interviews with him. It went really well. And then we started talking randomly about zonal marking. And he started talking about Liverpool zonal marking, and I wanted to make a video out of it. But then we couldn't get an Uber back because Ubers couldn't get to him. Yeah. So he's like, I'll just drive you wherever. So we jumped in his car with him. I think he was going to pick his kids up from school or something. And he just drove us into like the nearest town, and basically he was just chatting to us in the car afterwards. And that was I wish we'd have recorded it, but also it's private what he was saying when there's no cameras and stuff. But we were talking about like where he lived in Liverpool and stuff, and what he thinks is wrong sometimes with the players that come into the club and stuff. So he lived in Woolton, and he was like, I would always tell players, you've got to live in the city. And funny enough, we were talking to Genie Wijnaldum at an event in Anfield a few months before, and Genie was like, I don't really like Liverpool. And we were like, why don't you like Liverpool? He's like, well, I preferred Newcastle. I was like, okay, where'd you live? He's like, Formby. I'm like, you don't live in Liverpool, mate. No wonder you don't like feel it. He lived in Newcastle city centre. I think he was single when he lived in Newcastle as well, so it's a bit different in it, you know what I mean? So Lucas, remember then thinking about it, Lucas is like, you've got to live in the city, you've got to understand what the people want, what they expect from you. You get a feel for the people and you'll fall in love with the city more. And it was those conversations that I've had. I'm like, that's a leader, that's a captain. Like he got his shit, don't get me wrong. Like, but he worked hard for the club. 10 years he was at Liverpool. He was absolutely a leader from day one, and he went through shit where he was not good enough, and then he managed to become good enough and all that type of stuff and gain the respect of all the fans. And I think that was the sort of those little like insights into a player where it's like it's more than just that, and you are trying to lead people and point people in the right direction, because it's too easy. You live in Manchester, loads of players, don't they, or all over the northwest, and they don't know the city, and how can you fall in love with the place? That's what you want as a Liverpool and Everton
I think
fan.
It's the argument as well, that there's a lot of distractions, isn't there? If you're living in the city, especially if you're one of like the younger lads. Or so I can see that from both sides, but I get what he means as well about getting a feel for the city. But then that can go the other way, can't it? Where people probably start to get full of themselves because everyone's gonna know they are, aren't they? Whereas maybe if they're in a different city, if they're in Manchester and Everton playing in Manchester, might not be recognised as much type thing, for example, or a Liverpool player.
Yeah, no, I think you are right. There's obviously ups and downs, isn't there, to it? But, you know, I think if you want to fall in love with the club, you've got to integrate yourself into the city, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, that's the crux of it. Like,
I seen also on YouTube, you played 5-a-side of Robbie Fowler.
yeah, that was embarrassing. For me, not for Robbie, like, Jesus Christ. So I was playing a Legends game, and I was supposed to be on a side playing against the Legends, but they'd booked one too many, so they put me on the Legends team. Right? And I played 5-a-side for years, and, you know, played 11-a-side up until about 16 years old or something, but I was not like fucking brilliant or nothing like that, and I've got too big an ass to run nowadays. Like, but I was on the sideline for like 70 minutes, and they really want to win these Legends. Like, so like John Aldridge was playing, David Thompson, Jamie Carragher was playing, Robbie Fowler, Alan Kennedy, like loads of fucking boss players. I think Dudek was in goal for us and stuff. And I come on after 75 minutes. I've not kicked the ball for an hour and a half, and David Thompson fizzes this ball into me, and I miscontrol it really badly. Like, the ball, I tried to trap it, and it ends up 10 yards away from me, and he basically ignored me for the rest of the game. And I was just like running around like, I'm open, and they were like, fucking no, not passing to you prick. You had your one chance. And Robbie Fowler was playing it. He was on the corner of the penalty area, and I was through. Like, the team weren't marking me either because they knew. Do you know that lad on 5-a-side where no one's worried about it? It's like, we'll deal with him if he gets the ball. And I'm through, and I turned around to Robbie. I'm like, Robbie, and he went, fuck off. And I went, fair play. Yeah, so that was really embarrassing, to be fair. Like,
You mentioned before doing live shows with Redmen TV. So what have they been like?
Pretty good, to be honest with you. They're really fun. Like, it's obviously a bit different, innit? Like, you don't know, like this setup now. I kind of forget that the camera's there. You're kind of used to the cameras being on. In fact, even when you're doing live shows on YouTube, you kind of forget that there's thousands of people watching sometimes, and you just zone out. But actually being in front of an audience is just completely different, isn't it? Because you can see them. They're there to listen to you talk, and So like we've done one in Dublin where maybe 450 people turned up to listen to us chat wham about Liverpool, which was boss, and just have a sing song and just honestly just get drunk with people. Like, it's good fun, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? And so we've done them in America, we've done a few over there, and it's just good fun. And it's boss because I think you realise like the reach of the footy club, and, like the reach of what you're doing as well. Because obviously we're all fans of football at the end of the day, and we're all like, you know, for our viewers, we're all Liverpool fans, and there's so many similarities between those people because I think Liverpool fans from abroad buy into the culture of the club, and I'm sure it's the same for other teams as well. They buy into the ethos of it and all that type of stuff, and it's amazing to see, really. Whereas I do feel like with, you know, your Manchester Uniteds and maybe your Arsenals, they're more there for the winning. They don't, but with Liverpool, they ingratiate themselves in the culture of the footy club, which is pretty cool. Like, and to see that is boss. The one thing I would say is they sing the right songs, but they're just slightly wrong because the accent.
Yeah,
and it's a bit like, I get right. You got the words right, and the tune's kind of right, but it's not actually right, and I don't know how. Like, but it's funny to watch, like, because they are just madheads. They just love it. Like, they get up all times of the day and night. It's mental.
Did he know the stuff as well? Because I think there's like, I don't know, there's a bit of a perception of, say, like an American talking about footy. They sort of get dismissed, I think, on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, I think they do. I think what they nowadays with social media, like back in the day, if you were in Liverpool and I was born in 82, I'm 40 years old. So if I'm 10, 15 years old, I get all my news from the Echo because there's no internet. You couldn't possibly at that point in time follow Liverpool as well as somebody from Liverpool because the newspapers don't cover it well enough. And it's exactly the same for Everton, you know what I mean? You're getting all your news from newspaper. Nowadays, because of social media, because of every newspaper being online, if you're a Liverpool fan, you can read everything and you can know well more than me if you live abroad. and whatever, because you can read absolutely everything everywhere all of the time. So I think the stick is probably held over from years before where they didn't think that. But you can watch more footy.
Yeah.
Like, they can literally watch every Premier League game. We can't. Do you know what I mean? If you're
It's
in
mad if you
America,
think
so
about
like
it, yeah.
they could know well more than us. And I've met Liverpool fans that do. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that your biggest fan base outside of the UK, the States?
For Redmen,
Yeah.
Ireland.
Oh, Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, obviously. And then I think it's America next.
Is there any other bad countries which have quite like
Germany, when Klopp came.
Oh, of
Germany
course,
shot
yeah.
up the rankings, like,
Yeah.
because obviously you get your top 10 countries on YouTube, and Germany was never anywhere. And as soon as Klopp came, loads of German fans jumped on because they obviously like Klopp and stuff like that. There's probably a lot of Dortmund fans and stuff like that. Like, Australia's obviously massive. I think most of the English speaking ones are probably big into it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Talking of Klopp, like, how long do you think he's got left at Liverpool? Because you've seen some people debating, like, has it ran its course? And others are like, no, just like a bad patch. Like, what's your opinion on how far can he now take Liverpool going forward?
I wouldn't get rid of him personally. I think he's got enough juice in the tank to go another few years at Liverpool. I think he wants to prove people wrong now, because I think the rumours are that, you know, that 7-year curse and all that type of stuff, it's just bullshit. Like, he's a good manager. He hasn't been backed anywhere near as much as he probably should have been.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be here for another 5 years from today. Like, I do.
Do you think he'll win trophies like consistently like he did do? Or do you think it'll drop off a bit? Or do you think he'll remold that side, almost like Ferguson did, like early 2000s with United?
I think he will. I think he will win trophies. Like, I think this season's a mad one. Like, it really is mental, because the drop-off's been huge, absolutely massive. We've been playing some dog shit footy, like, for what we've been sort of used to. But I do think we're only 2 or 3 players away from being good again. And I think he'll get them in the summer this time around, whereas I don't think he's had them.
Do you think
previously.
Bellingham will end up at Liverpool?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I've said this for a while. I'd more picture them in like a Liverpool shirt than like a City shirt. But
Do you know the reason why? Because they look fucking ridiculous if they don't get him now. So there's someone at Liverpool must know that we're getting Bellingham, because you'd have just signed any old midfielder.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't go through January and not sign a midfielder unless you know you're getting Jude Bellingham, because you're just stupid if you don't. Like, and it's like, you've waited on him for 2 years. If you don't get him, that's a bad planning. Like,
Yeah.
so that it's only a guess.
He'd be some addition though.
Oh yeah,
He's a ready-made world-class midfielder at like
and
19,
at 19,
whatever he is.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Pair him with our other world-class midfielder who's 18. You've got a midfield there for 10 years.
But I think Gakpo will become. Obviously, he has a bit of like, he scored the other night. Obviously, he scored, but he had a bit of like a not the best start. I'd really watched him that much, but stats wise, he hasn't. But I think he'll come good. Like, watching him in the World Cup, he looked a player as well. I think once he gets his confidence up, and even Nunes, like he's a bit of a polarising figure, but watching him the other night, involved with everything. No matter whether he does something good or bad, he's always involved.
He is like, a lot of people call him like the agent of chaos. He's always involved. Like, he misses a lot of shots, don't get me wrong, but he's averaging like 5.5 shots a game for us. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, no one's had more shots on a per game basis for Liverpool since Salah's been at the club than Salah.
Yeah.
And Nunes is having more than Salah. So we are remoulding it. You got to think, like, with Mane, with Firmino and with Salah, we've had it good for a long time. Like, we got lucky with, you know, the 3 of them working out and being together for so many years.
Yeah.
That's always going to take time to change, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Where do you think yourself and Redmen will be in 5 years' time?
Probably doing the same shit we're doing now, to be honest with you. I think, like, probably me and Paul, honestly, will probably be stepping back from it at some point in the future. And just, like, I say, I'm 40 years old. Who wants to listen to a 50-year-old talk on YouTube about football? Like, you know what I mean? That's heavy going, in it. Like, you know what I mean? So there's gonna be a new generation of people with opinions and stuff. Like, and I think that's right. I think that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? So I imagine 5 to 10 years, me and Paul might not be doing Redmen TV anymore, but there'll be someone else in our place, hopefully, and hopefully Redmen becomes bigger than me and Paul. And I think it already has, and I think that's testament to the people that we've brought with us along the way. You know, we've got a young girl with us now, Chloe, who's absolutely brilliant. She's absolutely smashing it. Dan, Steve, we've brought in. They're all really good at what they do. And hopefully they can take the reins and take it forwards. You know what I mean? Because, as I say, we've got other dreams and aspirations now that we want to do and we want to achieve that maybe is outside football. You know, there's only so long you can do something for, and as I say, people might just not give a shit in 5 years what me and him say, and that's fine by me. Like,
How many subscribers are you on now? It's about 500,000.
yeah, just over 500,000.
Yeah,
I think
is the
it
goal
was.
1 million then?
I don't think we'll get there, to be honest with you.
Do you not reckon?
Why not?
I don't. It's just been so slow for the last few years that, like, I think if we carried on getting subscribers now at the rate we've got them for the last few years, me and Paul will be 90 probably by the time we get to 1 million subscribers. So yeah, I don't know.
Lend us a few subscribers,
I know,
will you?
I know. But like 500,000 subscribers, unbelievable. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we're so proud of that. But like, yeah, I just think there's a point where it's like you're probably not going to be able to do this without getting fans of other footy clubs.
What's like
involved.
the age range of what would you say your main age gap is?
35 to 44.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the one below that, which is something to 35 to 5. Yeah.
See, I would have thought it was younger than that because
19 to 24.
ours
Yeah.
is older than us though. Like our main like YouTube whatever is 24 to 30, and we're 21, 22, which is mad. But
Oh, actually, you know what? That's a lie. I think that might be our one, and then it's 35, 44.
yeah, because
They're close though.
do you think I think there's a niche for like, I don't know, what do you think younger kids watch now? Like sort of 15, 16-year-olds, do you think they watch the fan channels as well?
I think they probably do. I think they probably watch it in a different way. I think they probably like the shit where it's going fucking mental all
Yeah.
the time. And I think they quite like the, you know, like the ones where there's multiple fans of different clubs together and stuff like that. Like True Geordie's kickoff would have been a perfect example of that, maybe.
Yeah.
I think also TikTok. Like
Yeah.
that, like short,
Yeah.
snappy content. I don't want to listen to a 45-minute show about an upcoming game against friggin' Brighton or something like that. You know.
Is there ever a plan to get Ball Street back going? I used to love that.
No, there isn't at the moment.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, did you used to watch that? Did
Yeah,
you?
I used to buzz off that,
Did
mate.
you?
Yeah.
The Social Club one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funnily enough, me and Paul were talking about Social Club today. Like, so we would like to do something with Ped and Baz maybe in the future and do something, but it's having the time in the week to be able to do
Yeah,
it.
it's
Because
true.
I love that show. It was good fun. Like, so we sort of do something similar on our website that's a bit more like talking around all the other teams and all that type of stuff. It was very Everton focused, today's show, by the way.
But that was enjoyable, wasn't it?
It was great fun, actually, to be honest with you. Fantastic. I was proper worried going into the derby. I was really worried that you were going to beat us.
You my
yeah.
mates were saying that, and we were just like, "What are you worried about? Like, there's nothing to be worried about."
You were right. You were dead right, mate.
It's not like we've got this striker that's like, that can, do you know what I mean? With a snapshot, score a goal. We just don't.
He looked like a fucking regen him up front for you the other night, like, you know what
It was
I mean?
just sly on him, weren't it?
It
Like,
was not there.
what do you expect from him, realistically?
I expected nothing from him, to be honest. When I saw he was starting, I was like, oh, God. Poor lad.
Have you any more questions then before we finish up?
What advice would you give to like people like ourselves who
Yeah.
are like going into like sort of the social media?
Have a thick skin for a start, like, because when you start getting into people's timelines, people then decide whether they like you or they fucking hate you.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a point where about 100,000 subscribers, everyone loved us, and then when it got a little bit bigger, and like you was all of a sudden you were showing up on people who didn't want your timeline, and
Yeah.
they were like, "Fucking hell, we hate these pricks." So like, it's the abuse like online. It's hard to deal with, like, but from a just going for it point of view, just fucking go for it, mate. Just like, you know, if this is what you want to do
Yeah.
and you enjoy it, then why not just have a go?
Yeah, true.
You know
I
what
think
I
we
mean?
are half like not enjoy people's comments,
Yeah,
the
I
negative
buzz off
ones, but it's quite funny. I had looked like Lee Westwood and Greta Thunberg yesterday. I had
Did you? Yeah.
two personal
I
favourites.
get John. I look like John
I
Parrott's
can
son.
see that, to be honest with you.
I used to get called Harry Maguire at goals as well. 'Cause
Did
the
you,
size of my head. I think if I prefer John Parrott's son, no. Well,
I used to wear shorts on some of the shows, and some fella was like, "Oh, Chris Pajak and his Christmas hams." So I've got fucking massive thighs and a fucking ass and all that. Like, so I'm like, "Shit, man, these are bad." Like, but yeah, you got to have a thick skin if you want to do it, because not everyone will like you, and it's just how you're gonna deal with that. Like, but as long as you can hold your head up high, because I have the kind of thing that always got me through. It was actually something James Allcott from Ball Street.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
It was something he said to me. He was like, you know, if they're not in your circle of trust, why'd you give a shit about them? Like, if you wouldn't take their advice, don't take their criticism. And as soon as you said that to me, I was like, that's fucking great advice.
Yeah, that is.
I would never ask someone on the internet for their advice on something that I don't know. So
Yeah.
why should I take your criticism as well? As long as I know I'm being true to myself, as long as I know what I'm saying is what I believe, and I genuinely believe it, and it's my opinion, then no one can have a go at me for that. It's just me being a dickhead, and that's fine.
What's been your best and worst moments your whole time at Redmen?
Best moment was probably, we did a challenge with Lazar Markovic, Raheem Sterling, Jordan Ibe, and we did like an American shootout, and I was in goal, and they had 3 attempts to score past me. Now Raheem Sterling ripped me to shreds every single time. I think I saved 2 of Phil Coutinho's. Can't remember how many I saved. I saved all of Markovic's. And that's when I realised that he probably wasn't going to make it at Liverpool Football Club, but I looked fucking boss. Like, so I really enjoyed that. But like, fat lad fucking in goal who's managed to save 3 American shootouts against you, and you're a £30 million player or whatever we paid for him. I'm like, you might not make it at Liverpool. And the worst moments got to be the Chelsea rent boy stuff, to be honest with you. I think that was like, you know, I'd said something that shouldn't have said, and there was a real backlash from not only like Liverpool got in touch with us because Kick It Out got in touch with them about it and stuff. Because Kick It Out's wasn't just all about racism, it's obviously all about LGBT rights and all that type of stuff as well. So there was a real backlash from that, and I felt it for years, to be honest. Like, even like loads of people liked me because of it, but it went in mad little videos of me dancing and doing it, and it just on repeat on Vine before before that got shut down and stuff. So that was hard to deal with, to be honest with you, because I was working at the tavern at the time. I remember going into the boss the next day. I was like, look, just so you know, there's this fucking viral video of me going around, like, and it's not a good look and stuff. So that was difficult. So I think that was difficult for Paul as well, because he very nearly edited it out, but he didn't. And then we had it up for like, I think it went up for like 7 hours, but it was just going for years and years. And people would walk past me in the streets and scream, they still do, rent boys at me and all that type of stuff. And I was like, I'm proper embarrassed about that. Like, I hate it when people bring it up to me, and like, especially when they like it, I actually probably feel worse. Yeah. Because I'm like, that was a bad thing that I did there, and I got that completely wrong. And I will say to this day, I genuinely didn't mean it as a slur on gay people or homosexual people or whatever. I genuinely meant it from the, like, you just go there for the money type of thing, and you'll be somewhere else for the money in a few weeks' time, the Chelsea stuff. And I got it wrong. And so, but that was a backlash. Like, and it was hard to deal with that. I think mentally more than anything else, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And also, who do you think will win the Premier League this year? Arsenal or City?
I reckon Arsenal will just cling on, you know.
You reckon, yeah?
Yeah. Why do you think City?
Been there and done it. And you know, so really see, if Arsenal were behind, I think you'd just think, yeah, City will win it. But City are behind and have been behind, and they will always win it. Like, they always get there. Even if they're 5 points behind at the start of April, I'd still fancy City to win the league. I just think it's because what we've seen and what we know, isn't it? Like, just they find a way to win the league anyway.
Yeah.
But,
no, I can get that.
And like, I can't imagine Arteta lifting that trophy at the end of the season. I don't know why. Because I haven't seen it before. But I think Pep's sort of the master, isn't he? Because he's taught Arteta in a way everything he knows. So I don't know. Really interested. That's actually tonight of recordings, that game, so we don't know what happened yet. But that, I think it's, they had that cup game where they beat them 1-0 on Ake scored. I know it's in the cup, but I think it's still a big psychological edge. But I think if Arsenal beat City, then I'd be more confident of Arsenal winning the league. But I think them games psychologically are big.
I think you're right there, aren't you? Like, I think the general consensus is that City will do it. And I think you can understand that from the experience side of things. I think Arsenal have had that little bit of a wobble, but they're not losing. Like, you know, obviously they did lose against you, but the weekend they drew and all that type of stuff. If they can win tonight, I definitely think they're going to win. But I don't know. It's an interesting one because they're so young, aren't they? That's the thing, where the average age of their squad's like 23, 24 years old or something. That's mental. Like, it's normally like 27. Liverpool's is like near 28. City's is like 27 and a half. But they're all coming good at the same time. It's actually what Klopp did with us.
Yeah.
You challenge for a couple of years beforehand, and you grow into your prime together, don't you? And I think Arsenal are set up for the future, certainly. Maybe it's not this season, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
But certainly in the next few years, they are going to be a problem for teams.
It would be nice to see Arsenal win it. To be fair to like Arteta and that, and like that's Saka for the turnaround he's had from like missing that pen in the Euros and like complete backlash he got off that. So then he's like turned into a world class player, hasn't he? He was a good player before that, but be nice to see them win it, I think.
I'm more worried about Everton at the moment,
Yeah,
but yeah, it would be good to have someone else challenging.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it's not Liverpool as well.
Yeah, fair fucks.
And also, if you're going to make a five-a-side team of all Liverpool players you've seen live, like in the flesh, who would it be?
Luis Suarez, Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher. Hang on, five-a-side. I'll switch. Luis Suarez, Steven Gerrard. Do you need a centre-back in five-a-side? Probably don't, do you?
A deep lying midfielder. I can drop in, you can have.
Javier Mascherano. He'd be a good one for that,
That's a good shout, that for that, yeah.
For five-a-side, he'd be gnarly in there. Xabi Alonso. Robbie, oh no, can't have Robbie Fowler as well. I need a keeper, don't I?
Yeah, you need a keeper.
It's got to be Alisson in goal.
Yeah.
Or I've forgotten Mascherano, Gerrard, Suarez. Who else did I say then?
Alonso.
I'll have to take him out and put Fowler in.
Yeah, finisher. Not that Suarez isn't a finisher, like, don't get me wrong, but
Suarez can play anywhere he wants on a five-a-side pitch, can't he? I reckon that's a good little side, that, you know.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Could have given us some warning on that.
Also, what's your favourite pint?
At the moment, Menabrea. Yeah, the pint of Menabrea.
Nah,
I can't say I've
that
even
one.
heard of that, no?
Yeah.
It's an Italian beer. So they have it in Vincenzo's on Walton Road. It's a fucking top drawer pint. But when you go away in Europe on footy trips and you go to Italy, right, then have a pint of Menabrea if they're still selling it when you get on a European away.
Better luck we have a pre-season game there, like.
How did that turn into that?
I know.
That was a good segue, that, you know.
It's a good pint.
And also we ask him, name one random Premier League footballer.
Forgotten, obscure footballer.
Is it Izzy Muzzet? Was it Izzy Muzzet? Is that a proper name?
Yeah, I met Izzy Muzzet. Yeah, he's played Birmingham in midfield.
Birmingham? I think I thought it was Leicester.
Oh, you might be right.
To be
there.
fair, you've smashed it here.
Straight in there. Do you not know Muzzy, is it?
Nah.
Oh, there you go. I said
Muzzy,
Izzy
is it?
Muzzet.
Yeah.
It's Muzzy, is it?
Yeah, you used to have like long hair and that. Sure, he was Turkish.
Muzzy, is it? You're right, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I got his name completely wrong. Chelsea, Leicester, Birmingham.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I butchered that because I said his name the wrong way around. Is he Muzzet? No, he's Muzzy, is it?
Yeah, who am I going to have?
I'm having Martin Petrov.
Is he City? Skinhead, Bulgarian?
Yeah, he's at Bolton too, I think.
But yeah, no, it wasn't at Villa, the other one in it. Stanislas.
Something like that. Stillian.
Rule Fox is another one. There's one for you from Norwich. Back in the day.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Right winger from Norwich, Rule Fox.
Can't
Played for Newcastle as well, I think he did.
I'm going to have
older than you,
Obafemi
though, aren't I?
Martins. Yeah, Obafemi Martins. I'm going to have.
Martins,
Remember he missed a pen at Goodison and we beat them 3-0.
Yeah, it still hasn't landed now.
I know, yeah, and Phil Neville scored as well. But yeah, so thanks very much for that. I appreciate it. And once again, if you enjoyed it, even if you didn't enjoy it, like and subscribe, and please give us a 5-star review on Spotify or wherever you listen to the podcast. Thanks a lot.
Nice one.